Welcome to Flatrater Take 5, video episode 1. This series is just going to be a bunch of short industry observations and comments and thoughts I've had. And so we will start with, I was watching a YouTube video the other day with a group of guys, industry guys, talking about a lot of stuff. One of them at one point brought up a case study. And I like case studies. There's a lot to be learned from case studies. What I'm usually looking for when I look at these is, could I have come to the same conclusion using my methods and techniques, which tend to be different? I'm less procedure-based and more just, what information can I get quickly and what can I do with it? That's kind of my approach. So, people are different. So, it was an interesting case study. Where's my BB gun so I can shoot that bird? All right, so it was an interesting case study. The guy had a V8 with a single cylinder misfire, had been to a bunch of shops, and it ended up, so it was a V8 with a misfire on one cylinder. It was hard to figure out exactly how it was acting because the description kind of flip-flopped. In one point it's a hard misfire or a pretty bad misfire, then it's not. But anyway, so I'm going with what I kind of saw from the end, and that it had a constant misfire on a single cylinder. And it was pretty interesting find. It had a restricted exhaust port on that misfiring cylinder, and that was pretty cool. What the tool the guy used to identify the fault was a pressure transducer with the Pico software, and I like that. I do that. I have that. Some comments were made during the discussion, which I thought was kind of fascinating, and that is, I'm really interested in lost information, lost techniques. And so this is what the guy used for his diagnosis: a pressure transducer, a Pico. I have one. I also have the Fluke PV350. Had it for a long time. I like the Pico better. It was a great tool for what he did. Now, he did kind of give lip service to using one of these. And what I thought was interesting about that is he didn't use the tool as I was taught to use the tool. Apparently, he used it only for cranking compression, and you could do a lot more with that tool. And during the discussion, one of the guys had chimed in and said he goes into shops and has arguments with guys over why they need a pressure transducer and they need to be doing in-cylinder testing, otherwise they can't. I don't know if he actually said this, but the implication was otherwise you can't diagnose this stuff. At least I think that's what he was saying. And if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I'm really not picking on the guy. I'm just, what he said was interesting because I'm thinking, I didn't see anybody using this gauge in a way that I was taught to use it. It's not just cranking compression. There's dynamic testing as well. And if you combine that with a vacuum gauge and a leakage tester, you could find a lot of faults. Matter of fact, what do you think people did before that? Before we had these, they used those tools and they got pretty good at it. Some of the guys even found a lot of stuff with ignition analyzers. Mac Vandenbrink did some awesome training using ignition scopes and what you could do. So all I want to say here is, if you're going to argue with guys over tooling stuff, you might want to be more familiar with how those tools were used in the past by guys who are a little older and didn't have those tools. for much of their career. So with that, it was an interesting video. I enjoyed it. So anyway, that's my thing for today.